Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to another video on Conqueror's Blade, as we are going to be digging right into the pre-season update patch notes today, kind of looking at just the huge range of changes. Like, looking at these patch notes, there's like 40 pages, and I'm going to try and distill these down into some of the main points, or some of the things that are going to have the biggest impact. There's an absolute load to get through, so let's basically just hop straight into it. So probably the main thing that most people are going to be excited about, GenderLock. Obviously, most people know this is coming. They've kind of hinted about it heavily both before, and they've kind of been doing some little things on the Facebook page and stuff to kind of just show that this is going to be happening. And yes, it's right in the patch notes, right at front and centre, GenderLock. So we're going to be getting female spears, female poleaxes, female longbows, and in equivalent we're going to be getting male dual blades and male shortbows. So yeah, fully approve of this. Should have been done ages ago. So really good that they've finally put that one into place. I think a lot of people will be kind of pleased about that, because a lot of people are going to want to see those changes taking effect. So one thing I kind of hadn't expected, which I noticed in the patch notes, which I think is a good thing, is that bots are undergoing kind of quite a big rework. So it says they'll now interact in a more human manner, and they also get access to horses, so they're not just going to be on foot all the time, and they're going to have access to range hero weapons, so we're going to be seeing a wider range of bots in battles. And they're also going to be given limited leadership, so as a player they won't have just infinite respawns, but they'll have to sort of pick and choose what they want and how they want it to be. So yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting. But that, you would think, kind of a bit of an irrelevant point. Why is he bringing this up in the start of a patch note video? Well, it's because bots are going to be playing a bit of a larger role. They're going to be available in AI battles more, and obviously you're fighting against bots in AI battles, but AI bots will also be in your team if there aren't enough players, and field battles. In the 8v8 field battle, so if there's not enough people to get a field battle, probably sometimes at the more quieter times when it's not peak, particularly on the EU, I know that's the case, then they're going to be introducing bots so that battles can be found easier, but you'll end up with, you know, say half a team of human players and half a team of bots, something like that. I don't really have a problem with that, particularly if it reduces queue times and stuff like that. I think the only thing they need to be really careful on there is to make sure the bots get balanced per team on the matchmaking. Don't give one team 4 bots and the other team 1. You know, otherwise the team with the human players is always going to have the advantage, because the human players are probably invariably going to be better. So I think that's something they just need to bear in mind with the matchmaking. So moving on from the bots, one of quite a few new things that are being introduced in and around this new War Scholar NPC. So we're going to be getting a new NPC in every town, city, village, as you know, similar to the Auctioneer or the Apothecary, that sort of thing. And this is going to introduce some new consumables, particularly things called doctrines and signaculars. Signaculars, something like that. Something that begins with S. And these are going to have 2 effects. Firstly, to take a look at the signacular, these are going to be able to be applied to units to give a 5% base discount to honor cost. And now these are going to be allowed to be able to have up to 20 per unit, so that means you can take the unit down to basically to 0 to be free. If you apply 20 on one unit, the unit will cost no honor, because it's 5% from the base every time. So it doesn't compound down, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's kind of interesting how they're going to do that. So they're basically going to effectively be giving big honor discounts on different units as and when they become available. And these are going to be split into 2. They're going to be split into common, which from the sounds of it can be applied to any unit you choose, and they're going to be split to unit specific ones as well, which is going to kind of mean that obviously it's just specific to individual units and isn't going to apply across the board. And these can be got from battle relics. It doesn't give full details of where these battle relics are going to come from, although I did see a comment that says battle relics will have a 50% drop rates from secret vaults, so you're going to be able to get some of them from there. I don't really have a problem with that. I guess it's going to open up more people to more units more quickly. And you're certainly going to want to be spending these signaculars, particularly the common ones, on the high tier units, because you don't want to get a 5% discount on Pipe Militia, whereas you do want to get a 5% discount on Iron Reapers. You know, there's a big difference in that sort of situation. So that's something to bear in mind. And you've also got to be careful. I don't know whether they're going to get put into the shop or not. I didn't see anything that said that they were going to get put into the shop, so hopefully not. Because if that does become the case where they do put that into the shop all the time, then that probably could be a bit of a shame, so hopefully they don't do that. And then the other one is doctrines. So doctrines are going to be unit-specific buffs even, to give your units more powerful abilities, and units can have 5 doctrines activated at a time. It doesn't specify what any of these doctrines actually are, but I'm expecting it to be specific unit buffs, so things like, 5% increase to all defense values, things like that. 2% increase to movement speed, things like that. I think it's going to be passive buffs in that sense, although maybe there could be some active ones that are going to come along to the unit. It seems quite a lot to give 5 per unit, to allow 5 to be stacked onto one unit. Depending on the strength of these doctrines, that could give some pretty significant buffs depending on what they turn out to be. So yeah, certainly something I'm going to have to keep an eye on there, because that could be quite an influential one if that's going to give some big changes. And again, these can be got at the new War Scholar NPC, so we'll kind of have to see how they pan out when they get introduced. But we've not only got new stuff like that, some of the older things are being reworked. Things like the market has undergone pretty significant alteration. You can now buy, sell and interact without actually talking to the auctioneer, which, yes, certainly a nice thing. Rather than having to walk right up to the auctioneer or find the auctioneer in your town to actually sell something, if you're just in the right town, you'll just be able to sell to the auctioneer just through the F5 tab as per normal. So yeah, little basic quality of life change. Quite like that one, that's why I included that one. There's also changes to hero resources. So for example, Lumber 1, which just used to be the old wood resource, is now changing to something called hero parts, and that's going to be paint. Well-worn wood is going to turn into silver powder. So they're basically turning it into hero crafting equipment, making it distinctly different from the resources you get when you're harvesting in the open world. Yeah, it doesn't really change anything significant in terms of gameplay mechanics. It's really just a visual change, but I think it's probably a good thing. It is a little bit silly how lumber is exactly the same as lumber you harvest in the open world, but they're both different. So I think to make it a little bit clearer like that is certainly not a bad thing. So yeah, I think that's a good change all in all. And also some of the suggested price limitations that we've had on the market previously have been reduced. So again, nice thing, nice little change. Moving on from the market stuff, rebels. Rebels in the open world have undergone some adjustment. Normal rebels shall no longer initiate battles on you. You'll have to initiate battles on them if you wanted to fight. And the triggering range of those sort of hard rebels who are in red, who trigger and chase you, is now a lot smaller than it was before. So if you go too close to them, they'll still lock onto you, they'll still chase you and demand money or force you into a fight. But unlike before, there's not quite such a big range, so you can't see them. You're not going to see them 200 meters away and they lock onto you and chase you halfway across the map. Now they will just lock on a little bit closer, so it should be a little bit less of an interruption in the open world. So we're also going to see some pretty big changes to the way the eras work. So for example, in the current version, to unlock the golden era, you need 6 4-star units, and then you'll be able to start building something like Monastic Knight, something like that. But with the changes, they're going to be reducing that down to 4. So you only need 4 4-star units to get into the golden era. You'll only need also 4 3-star units to get into the heroic era. So they're reducing the requirements basically to unlock the different eras. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing really. It's going to mean people are going to be able to get access to higher tier units early on. But it will feel a little bit disappointing if you have just spent loads of time working through the heroic era units just to be able to unlock the Monastic Knights, and now you didn't really need to do that because you could have been able to do that early on. So yeah, that's kind of a change. Not really a bad thing in the long run, I suppose, because I think it will give lower tier players access to higher tier units, or be able to drive for the higher tier units if they want to. But yeah, a little bit of an interesting change there. But it's not only the tech tree that is getting changed, but there's also pretty significant UI changes going on. So for example, the barracks is being completely reworked. Now units are going to be listed in the barracks horizontally, and they're going to be sorted with melee at the top, range in the middle, and cavalry at the bottom. It's all going to be kind of like a completely new interface. So hopefully, looking at the pictures, it looks quite good. It looks a little bit clearer to see. In the current barracks, it is a bit clunky. Trying to find things in there is not exactly super easy. So I think that's probably going to be a change for the positive. It'll slightly come down to personal preference if you like the layout and stuff. But we're also getting changes, as we're talking about units, around unit leveling. So this is being changed. In a nutshell, they are basically reducing the speed in which units level up. However, some other changes: all units that are taken into battle, whether you use them or not. So if you spawn into battle, if you come into battle, you pick your 5 units. You pick some serfs, some prefecture guards, and some prefecture archers. You use your serfs and you use your prefecture guards, but you don't take out your archers. In the current system, that would mean that the prefecture archers get no XP. but now they will. Everything you bring with you into the battle, whether you use it or not, will get unit experience from now on. It also comments that unit level limits will be increased. It says from 20 to 30. I'm not quite sure how that realistically plays out because a lot of the units are currently not even at level 20. I think it perhaps just means that there's going to be a unit level increase across the board. So they're going to increase the upper limit, which is going to kind of be interesting. It's going to open up some new tech trees if that's really the case, because you'll be able to finish off some of them a bit further and kind of explore down some of the other tech trees. So you'll be able to level up units even higher supposedly, which kind of makes for some interesting changes. Then after that we've got kind of a range of unit changes. Nothing massive. Small ones. Prefecture pikes actually got given a buff this time. I think they acknowledged that they overdid it last time and made them completely worthless, so they've now actually kind of given them a buff to make them a little bit better. Yep, good, nice. Other than that, archers haven't fared tremendously well in this, or not specific to archers, muskets as well, general range units in general. So there's been a general nerf to ammunition quantity. Basically with most units seeing their total ammunition lowered. For archers it just tends to be sort of a small amount, say from 1200 to like 900, something like that. Although I noticed prefecture archers didn't get that nerf, so it's good for me because I quite like the prefecture archers. But things like the muskets, generally you've got like halved in their ammunition supply, like from 1500 down to 600 I saw in one case, which is like a massive nerf, over half. So yeah, some pretty big nerfs to ammunition quantity. It kind of makes sense on the musket. The ammunition lasts so long anyway, that to kind of bring that down a little bit kind of makes it a little bit more worthwhile. Some of those early muskets, the ammunition is almost unlimited. It's almost a pointless feature to have it because it lasts so long. So that's a good thing, I think, in my opinion. They also have some small damage nerfs. Things like fire archers and imperial archers got little bits of damage nerfs. Vanguard's got some little bits of damage nerfs and some little bits of damage buffs. But again, no touch on the prefecture archer, which has all been really kind of a surprise for me. So prefecture archers escape unscathed in this one. But yeah, as a general rule, archers getting a small nerf. Although I did notice in the bug fix that the Krieg's Rat Fusiliers, they've supposedly fixed the ammo issues for that. I know that's something that a lot of people will be quite pleased to hear. There's just a little small one I noticed at the bottom. So there are also hero balances going on. Generally, I would have said nothing hugely massive, but I guess it's going to come down to what hero you actually play and how much it comes to affect you. But in a very broad nutshell, without going into details of every single one and being here all year, dual blades getting a nerf, short bow, pretty small nerf, but a little nerf nonetheless. Short sword, small nerf again, but kind of more changes, a little bit of changes around the way Ironside works, things like that. But I think it's probably going to balance out as a small nerf. Longsword, healing buff. They've slightly increased the duration of Mercy of Heaven, but then some small cooldown nerfs in terms of ability cooldowns, increasing the cooldowns on some of the abilities. And Spear, small buff. And actually the Glaive, in a way, got a small buff. It became, I can't even think what it's called. Flying Weeper, that's the word. Flying Weeper got an unblockable attribute basically given to it. So yeah, a few changes there on hero balancing, but again, nothing hugely dramatic that I noticed, to be honest. So it's an interesting set of changes on that one. So then moving on, there are other things that have changed. Battle rewards. They've actually given a slight nerf to drop rates after battles, so like siege battles, field battles, etc. Which seems unnecessary, to be honest. It's not as if I think that people were getting guardsmen every game anyway, so now the fact that they've kind of nerfed the drop rate, we're going to be seeing less drops after battles, which kind of seems a shame in my opinion, but there we go, it is what it is. And they've also affected reward-based performance. So currently in the game, the amount of bronze, honor, and experience you get after a battle kind of is dictated quite heavily by how many unit kills you get, you win the battle, how many hero kills you get, like do you cap points, that sort of thing, etc, etc. And that kind of quite influences, the amount of rewards you get. And they're basically going to half the amount of influence that has. So they're not halving the amount of rewards you're going to get, as in your bronze and honor cost will, you'll still be getting good rewards, but the amount you can change that will be less. So if you have a really bad battle, you're still going to get pretty decent rewards. And if you have a really good battle, well, you'll get slightly better rewards, it won't be vastly better. So it's just going to be a little bit more leveled out across the field sort of thing. while we're talking about battles, Iron Man mode basically being completely scrapped. A lot of people, including me, didn't really used to like it, although I must admit it has grown on me a little bit recently. But it's basically going completely and is going to be replaced with a practice mode. And this is basically going to be a mode where you cannot lose any unit kits at all, and there's going to be no leadership at all. So you can bring any units you want, whether it's a 300 leadership cost or not, because there's going to be no leadership cap, but there is going to be a cap of a total of 5 units. So it's going to be like a battle of bring your best units, bring everything you've got, but you're not going to worry about unit kit loss. Of course, unfortunately, you do lose the higher honor rewards of Iron Man mode, but you're going to be getting similar sort of honor rewards to siege battles and sort of thing. It's just a normal mode, but there's no cost to it. So it's a good one for trying out some of your high tier units, leveling up your high tier units without any unit kit cost. Kind of a good change, I think, probably. Artillery. Quite a few changes around the artillery, really. Vast graphical changes for one. Now each artillery has been split into 3 depending on its crafting quality, whether it's green, blue or purple. And it's not just like the damage increase that it was before. So before, when you crafted the higher tier artillery, then you found that it did more damage. Generally just did more damage, has slightly more range, etc. But now they're changing it and adding new effects in. Not only are the artillery going to look quite different depending on which one you craft, but it's also going to have lots of different effects. Like you'll find the Hwachers now are going to have different volley quantities. So the early one has a lot less fire arrows in it, whereas the purple one is absolutely rammed to the gunnels with fire arrows, so it's going to be able to shoot a lot more per volley. But will of course as a result have a longer reload time, but it's going to be more accurate and will do more damage and will have more range. So you're going to find that generally the higher tier crafted siege equipment is going to be quite a little bit better than just the generic green stuff that you buy or get from crates. So it's basically putting increased emphasis on crafting. Crafting artillery is going to be important, particularly for siege battles and stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of quite a big one, I think. That'll come into play quite a lot as things get on. So what else have we got? We've also got quite a lot of changes in terms of territory wars and houses. Firstly, a new marshal position has been created. So that is going to act out as like a sort of war commander role, I think. It'll allow them to spend prestige, force retreat house members from territory wars battles and sort of supervise the territory war. They'll also get access to the new strategist mode, which should enable house leaders and marshals and stuff to watch and instruct the battle in sort of an overview mode, a bit more of a commander setting than the previous one, than anything you have currently. So hopefully it would allow for a bit more battle direction and that sort of thing, and sort of orchestrate the battle from a distance a little bit more. So yeah, there are generally positive changes, I think. Now, the big one, and this is really going to put the cat among the pigeons, as it were, if this is being interpreted correctly. So they are basically going to be introducing multiple battle lines for towns and forts in territory wars. So let me explain this. So the way they put it, villages are going to have 1 battle line, and that will act as normal as they do now. Towns are going to be having 2 battle lines, and forts will be having 3 battle lines. So multiple battle lines can basically be attacked from multiple different lines. So now currently, if 15 people from one house go and attack House B in their fort, no one else can attack. They have that 15 maximum because there's only 1 line. You can only have 1 siege and a fort going on at the same time. Now with multiple battle lines, in effect a second house will be able to come in and also start attacking that same fort at the same time that an existing siege battle is already going on. So now the defenders will have to fight 2 lots of battles with 2 lots of separate players. But for forts, there's 3 battle lines. So in effect, if someone really wanted to take a fort from you, or multiple people really wanted to take a fort for you, you would have to defend 3 lines. So you'd have to have 45 players to fully staff each battle at 1 fort. Now that's really going to change territory wars an awful lot in the way that it deploys. It's going to make it much harder for bigger houses to hold larger amount of territory. So yeah, that's going to change a lot. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing yet. I mean, as a house that holds a reasonable amount of territory, your first thought is that that's definitely a bad thing. But then at the same time, it's probably a good thing for smaller houses because it enables them to sort of certainly attack a little bit more, or it certainly puts the emphasis back on attacking. Because if the attacker wins just one of those 3 battle lines, then the city or fort is captured. So, you know, even if they defend the other 2 successfully, they only have to lose 1 and the whole thing is lost. So it gives the advantage really to the attackers, much more than the defenders as it kind of is currently. It's really going to change things quite a lot, I think, if that comes into effect. As I say, going to make things much harder to hold, although it is going to kind of mean it's basically impossible for smaller houses to hold towns and forts, because they're not going to have the number of players to defend multiple lines like that. But as I say, I think it is going to make it hard for big houses to hold the amount of territory that they probably do currently, because to defend that much is just going to require so many players that it's not going to really be realistic to do so. So that's about all I've got for you on this patch notes video. There's just absolutely tons and tons of stuff in these patch notes. Lots of smaller changes going on, from a lot of UI changes in and around just the way your inventories looks, being able to access your supply dump on the move, town changes. Borderlands is now getting some small NPC towns put in. Just an absolute huge host of changes going on, but without making this into a 40-minute video, I certainly can't cover them all, and I kind of wanted to keep this at least semi-concise, although I suspect we're still going to be pretty goddamn long. So if you wanted to get into more of the details, be sure to check out the full patch notes on the official website. You can sort of read through the whole thing. But this hopefully gave you a bit of an overview of sort of the key changes, the main things that are occurring in this week's patch notes. If you have any questions about anything that's going on at all, anything I've said in this video, or if you've read through the patch notes yourself and found something you didn't think I mentioned or something you didn't understand in the patch notes, do put a comment down below. I'll be sure to try and get back to you. If you have any other questions, comments or feedback on the video, as I say, leave that in the comments. Subscribe to the channel for lots more Conqueror's Blade content, and I shall see you guys all on the next video.